This feels like I'm watching a 3-channel system. Oh, holy shit, Sam. Like,
It's different, eh?
this is a lot fucking bigger. Like, I can actually like walk back here.
I was actually walking through my local Home Depot. I was buying some stuff to remodel the kitchen. So stay tuned for that video at some point in time in the future. But I ran across my buddy Chris, who happens to be a subscriber of mine from way back in the beginning. He's been hanging out since then. He actually came down to my first home theater at the old apartment. And I believe I hired you to help me move some SVS subwoofers.
That was the PB16.
As a PB16.
That was a nightmare to get up your stairs.
Yeah.
That was not fun.
In subsequent years, I have learned to roll the subwoofers up the steps. So instead of us trying to pull it up like a bunch of idiots, you know, I have rolled many 200-pound subwoofers straight up the stairs, no problem. Anyways, so I got in contact with him at the Home Depot, and I was like, listen, now that you're kind of local, why don't you come down, check out the theater, tell me some of your thoughts on where I came from the apartment to the advancements or all the upgrades that I've attained in my current home theater iteration. Let the folks know what you have in your home theater.
So my system at home, my primary personal system, I have 2 JBL HDI 3800s going through a JBL SDP 58 preamp into a Marantz 7-channel power amp with a Panasonic 5400 and a Dynamo 1600 sub with all AudioQuest wiring going all the way through. And then my roommate has a pair of Martin Logan Impressions, same JBL SDP 58 preamp, a PA240 and a PA, or 2 PA240s now, and a Marantz 7-channel amp, powering the 2 Impressions, the Focus Center, 2 Mythos STL rears with PC4000 subs, going through 2 Panamaxes. Same thing, all AudioQuest wiring, and we both have LG OLED TVs.
Nice. AudioQuest.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite. Everyone on YouTube's favorite. I mean, I got a lot of AudioQuest too, so it's okay. You've heard my theater at the old apartment. What was kind of your takeaway here when you came to my new place?
The first thing, this space is way bigger and way better for it, but you had more of an actual space you could put into it instead of just, it was like a dining room, right?
Yeah.
That you had converted.
Yeah.
So having a dedicated space really makes it a lot easier to do. Space is a lot wider, and like you've said before, not as wide as you would like ideally,
Yeah.
but a lot closer to it, and there's definitely a lot more depth.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about trying to fit everything into the same amount of space.
Yeah.
You're actually able to really expand, because like now you have space behind your second row.
Yeah.
Like that row's not like smushed up against the back wall.
No, I got a few feet behind the second row.
And there's actually like real space between these 2 rows, which is nice.
Yeah.
So you can actually get really good placement.
You remember I tried to stuff in 2 rows in the 12-foot.
That was so tight. It was so tight in there.
All right, so obviously I've gotten a bunch of new speakers. I think I still have the same processor because I bought that processor like 4 or 5 years ago. So that's still the same, I believe.
Yeah.
But obviously the room and the speakers. But one thing that he mentioned, because I was like, oh, front row is kind of like my ideal seat. But then you were like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with this front row.
Very much so.
All right, go ahead.
As we're sitting in the front row, we're watching a bunch of movies, and I'm really noticing that there's a large lack of sound happening really behind me, especially with distinction, with placement, or just like really existing back there. The scene where he's fighting his way out the lobby after he climbed up the building and fell down, and just moving back to the back row completely changed the entire sound stage. Suddenly you really could hear the exact placement of everything rotating around you a lot more. Mm-hmm. And we really saw that also during like Ready Player One with Kong, when he was jumping around the room behind us and the sound was completely equal in bass and everything, no matter what angle he was at in the room. And it didn't change at all. You couldn't go, oh, this speaker's different, or the bass output from the subs is worse over here versus over in this corner. And it was very equal and fantastic.
You guys get used to your own sound in your theaters and you like it the way you like it. Then you get somebody comes in there with a second perspective, and then it makes you think, maybe I am doing something a little bit wrong, or maybe something's a little bit off. But I would attribute that to because when I did my last calibration, I tried to put the mic in between both rows so that way the second row wasn't too overpowered by just trying to really calibrate for the main listening position. So I didn't want the back row to be that powerful, just to give the front row main priority. So I did kind of lower the back speakers a bit more. So is that negatively affecting? Obviously, once we went back there, it was a pretty big difference. So
I think the big factor is like the front row is like a little too low, like I said before. I think it should be a couple inches higher, and that would help equal that out. Because even if we're sitting back there, if like I kind of like spaced out the distance, assuming someone's head was in the front row, and you can raise it a good like 3-4 inches, and you won't be staring into someone's head while watching the movie. So that's I think a big factor is it's just the height plays a role into it. In addition to the backs are probably a little too low for reaching properly all the way up to the front, like you said.
yeah, possibly that. I could probably aim the speakers a little bit better as well, adjust the levels a little bit more, which I'll have to mess around with. And after you leave, I'll mess around with that.
I took a look at like your side channels over here, and I was like, oh, like maybe like I had one idea of like, oh, maybe for like the highs we can flip the speaker upside down to bring the tweeter lower, but your tweeter's in the middle of the speaker, so that means placement's kind of set where it is.
Yeah.
There's no way to kind of twist and manipulate the highs there.
See, I didn't angle these ones because they're much bigger than my older ones. So when people are walking by, just as you found out, people will walk into the speaker.
Yeah, I did bump and knock off your speaker grill.
So I did make a little bit of a compromise there by not angling it too much. So I'll have to mess around with that a little bit more. I did angle the second row surround, so that's properly placed. But I think the levels are definitely a bit off from the in the second row for the back row speakers. So I'll have to mess around with that. Probably just do a separate preset for the front row, separate preset for the back row. That would probably be a good compromise as well.
And just load it depending on where you're feeling that day or if you have guests over.
Yep. And then, wherever I'm sitting, I'll just load up that specific preset.
Who cares about the other people? They didn't pay for this room.
Yeah.
This is Shane's room.
All right. So after we figured out, hey, let's go to the back row. Any other takeaways? I know you mentioned the consistency with the bass. I did recently do a calibration with the Trinov because I did have to replace a couple of amplifiers. So I got the new amps in. So I did a quick and dirty kind of recalibration of all 8 subwoofers. And I think it, usually calibrating the subs is not that hard. But you did mention that the bass was pretty good.
Yeah, like I find it's a thing where calibrating the bass isn't always the hardest thing.
Yeah.
But it's really one of the most important things you can do for a good theater is you really want to get your crossovers and your blending right. Because you just really want that bass to blend into your sound. You don't want any of your subwoofers to be very distinguishable. You don't want to be able to pinpoint its location or where the bass is coming from. You just want to know where the sound should be in the soundstage, and that's what you accomplish, and that's the goal.
Are you running your subs hot at your system?
No, they're very low. Like,
You mean very low, or did you level match all the speakers and the subs?
they are level matched.
Okay.
Like completely across. It's very, very fine-tuned because so in our system, the Mythos STLs and the Martin Logan Impressions all have active subs in them. So while technically there's only 2 PC4000 subs, technically there is 6 subwoofers in the room. So we had to calibrate for all 6 in the room. And that took a lot of fine detail, mostly in the PC4000s, raising each one by a decibel or 2 or lowering because one's slightly further away and is in the corner of a room where one is in a very open side of the room. So dialing each of those 2 in separately took a lot of time.
Yeah. So usually if I have guests come over and I'm giving them the demo reel, I would juice the subs a little bit. But I intentionally didn't do it this time. But we were still getting a tremendous amount of bass. And there's a few movies that we popped in that I hadn't seen in this house. So first one being Blade Runner 2049, Venom. But I forgot how good 2049 looked. And the amount of bass in that movie.
Incredible.
Just crazy. I forgot how much. Usually I would just check out for bass demos, subwoofer demos, just the first like 60 seconds or so with that intro, which has a ton of bass in it.
Mm-hmm.
But we went through, I don't know, chapter 13 or something like that.
No, it was earlier than that because
Was
we
it?
thought it was later, but it was like chapter 6 or 7 probably.
Right, yeah, yeah.
The scene where it starts with you have the dam with the water coming down out of it,
Yeah.
and he's flying towards the slums, and he gets shot with the fucking kite thing
Yeah.
that shocks the car and causes it to crash. And the bass throughout that entire scene is incredible.
Yeah.
That whole movie is the best stress test you can ever put a theater through, without question. And that's when we noticed your speakers up to your front heights
Yeah.
had some chuffing with that. They couldn't take
Yeah.
the full bass that movie was trying
Yeah.
to put out. Hence, the best stress test you could really put a space through.
Yeah, so you guys are looking for a movie with bass in the height speakers, top speakers, Blade Runner 2049. I didn't realize that during the course of that movie there was that much up there. So I was like, I'm gonna crank up the volume and show Chris how cool my system sounds. I was like, wait a minute, top speakers are giving out on me. I mean, I've said this in my review of those speakers in the past. Like, yeah, if you're crossed over a little bit too low, that you can make them chuff. I had them at 80 hertz, so I mean, it's a little bit funny that I was making.
That's not as low as I thought you would have had them for chuffing like that.
Yeah, so strange. I mean, listen, I do have the newer 821s horizontal versions coming in pretty soon, so they are going to match the front, the bed layer speaker. So that's in the works for 2026. Probably like the biggest upgrade I think I'm going to do this year.
You'll have to rewatch Blade Runner then.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to have to test that out. I'm going to, before I swap those out, I'll shoot some footage of them chuffing during that scene, and I'll replay it again with the new tops. So that'd be a good little test.
That'll be a fun day.
Yeah. I thought I was happy with my space at the old place. Like, I knew it could be a little bit better if it was bigger. But definitely size makes a difference.
Size, contrary to popular belief with a lot of things,
Yeah.
size does make a difference.
We're talking like 6x8 theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? You done that?
I've had clients be like, I have small space, small house.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the nature of where we live,
Yeah.
right? Just a lot of older homes, rooms not really designed for theaters. And they're like, this is what I got. Like, I want to make something work in this. And you got to really think about near field listening and trying to not overpower the room, but you want to really pressurize it quickly and efficiently. But especially with the amount of subs you had.
Yeah.
You had too many subs for that room. It just overpressurized pretty quick. But this room is definitely the appropriate size for the amount of subs you have, and really lets you pressurize the room appropriately, especially at the volumes you're trying to get to.
Bringing up the running your subs hot. Sometimes I review movies and people are like, what are you talking about, Shane? There's a ton of bass in these movies. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You guys must be juicing up your subs, because if a movie has bass, if you level match everything correctly, if a movie has bass, it has bass. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I think it comes to like the kind of bass people are looking for and the feeling they're looking for out of it, right? Kind of like the SVS rel debate of like, do you want like a punch in your chest, like usually from like a ported sub, or do you want kind of like we saw here, like really blended subs, but they'll punch when they need to and when it's appropriate for them to, not just punching every 6 seconds and constantly punching you in the chest. I really want the movie to envelop me and like pull me in and be really immersive. And when the bass is constantly punching, it kind of pulls you out of it.
Yeah.
Like you really want it to blend in, pull you into it. And then when something big happens, then it slams you in the chest. And it's like, oh, like this is a big impact. You want it to be a meaningful moment when that sub does punch you in the chest.
Some guys just want that all the way through. Any takeaways that you would implement in your next theater coming from here?
That is a good question. Definitely thinking about doing more subs. Hadn't really thought about going beyond like 3 or 4-ish. Unless you're counting like the living room setup that has the 6, but 4 of them are integrated into the speaker. But other than that, like at this distance, I wasn't sure if this screen would be a little overpowering at this size, but it definitely wasn't. It was just very immersive.
Yeah.
And that was something I was very happy to see me proven wrong about.
Yeah. So we're 10 feet from 150 inches, then about 18 or so feet, the second row. Visually, what do you prefer better? First row, second row for just a visual immersion?
Immersion is the first row for sure.
Yeah.
It's your entire view, especially when all the lights are off, is just entirely the screen. Like that scene when we watched the beginning of Tron Ares.
Yeah.
Where it's just all the orange light coming out of everywhere from the hole in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was just completely immersed and mesmerized by all the lights and the directions they were going on.
I was like, what did you think
There
about the
was
sound?
nothing else for me to think about at that scene. Like I was just immersed in that. And Shane did ask me
Yeah.
about the sound, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. This just looks so cool right now.
was
Like this is what I'm involved in.
I was like, come on, man, this is not why I invited you over. I was like, pay attention.
Well, then the scene happened where I started creating his body, and the sound snapped me right out, and I was like, now I'm paying attention to
Yeah.
the sound.
Yeah.
Because that was incredibly well detailed.
Any takeaways from these speakers from what you have at your house?
The center channel is definitely like comparable to me, like to what the Focus was doing. Because I obviously can't tell exactly how big your center channel is. Like I don't know if you've seen the Martin Logan Focus. That thing is a behemoth. That thing is huge, but that center channel is incredible. But before that, we had the 9060 center from Definitive Technologies.
Yeah.
That thing was small.
Yeah.
That thing did not do enough. But this was a phenomenal center. And the thing that really stood out to me with it was during Venom and the lows it was achieving without having a dedicated subwoofer attached to it for Venom's voice.
Yeah.
And it was really complete and low, and there was no distortion or warping in it. It was very clean, and that was really incredible.
Yeah. So the center is the exact same as these speakers. So all matching, which goes, I've been saying it for forever, like, don't skimp on your center channel, because a lot of people will get big towers and then we'll get these little rinky-dink little horizontal centers.
I don't understand why people do that. The dialogue is so important
Yeah.
to the movie, and you really don't want, right? You're watching a movie, right? Let's talk about like some classics like The Godfather or something, right?
Yeah.
And you have someone talking over here, someone talking over here, and then someone talking in the middle. You don't want the middle to sound different
Yeah.
when the guy transitions from here to here. You want him to sound exactly the same as he moves across your front stage.
That's why I threw in Gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Clooney sounded exactly the same in all the locations.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where he was. If you had a rinky-dink center channel there, it's going to be really jarring and break the immersion when his voice is just different.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like a different person.
How'd you feel about like the sound placement, the surround effects, stuff like that?
Once we went to the back row,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I noticed a lot of scenes I've seen many times, like the Batman car chase, Venom, Ready Player One, Tail, and the amount of times you would hear little things. Like in Batman, there's the scene where Penguin hits the cones and they bounce off his car and then hit off the ground. And in some of the systems I've listened to, you don't really hear the bounce back off the ground. You only hear it really bounce off the car.
Yeah.
And once we were back there, the level of detail you were really getting and the numerous little hits and really in that tiny detail was phenomenal.
Would you rather have a big TV or a big projector?
I personally greatly prefer a big projector. I really prefer the softness of the image because of the way it's reflecting back off of the screen at you. It just is a lot more, or a lot less strain on your eyes. It's a lot more comfortable to watch and enjoy for prolonged periods of time. And there's just something about the feel of watching a movie on a screen the way it was really intended to be done. I think you can spend like $2,000 now and get a 100-inch TV,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
But if you do projection, it's important that you invest in it. It's not worth doing if you don't want to really invest in the experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to do it down the road. I'm not doing it until I'm ready to drop the $5,000 on just the screen and then probably 10 to 13 at the minimum on a good projector. Outside of the, there's one for like $5,000-$6,000 that's pretty good. That one I would consider, but probably 10 to 13 grand for the projector.
So I think the main takeaway today is that I should probably calibrate for the front and the second row, because the first row doesn't sound as good as the second row.
It's not even close. This front row currently feels like I'm watching a 3-channel system with a lot of subwoofers. The second row is a real surround sound setup right now. This feels like I'm watching a 3-channel system.
All right, so those are our takeaways, are my new revelations on the theater room. New calibration coming in soon. Anyways, have you guys ever had outsiders come into your theater and criticize your setup? And how did you take it? Leave your comment down below. Let me know. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like the video if you found it useful. Subscribe. We'll catch you next time.